You're listening to episode 4 of the MicroProse podcast. Our featured guests today are Mech, Nils and Martin from Triassic Games, who will be chatting about their game, Sea Power.
Hello and welcome back to the MicroProse podcast. We are Dan Tozer and Nanci Knott, and today we are diving beneath the waves with the team behind Sea Power.
Sea Power, Naval Combat in the Missile Age, lets you control NATO and Warsaw Pact forces in a modern naval conflict. Whether it's gunning it out in a surface duel, fighting off aerial attackers, or hunting enemy submarines, Sea Power's advanced weaponry and sensors are at your disposal.
Joining us today are Mech, Nils and Martin from Triassic Games. Welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So let's start at the surface level. Martin, how would you describe Sea Power to someone who's never heard of it?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a real-time strategy game playing in the Cold War era from 60s to 80s. So in a fictive situation where the Cold War gone hot, so to say. Mainly the forces between Warsaw Pact and the NATO in that time period, and you are in control of the fleet, so to say, with vessels but also aircraft, and try to fight the enemy and be successful.
Let's get to know a bit about the Triassic Games team. Mech, who's on the team and what's it like working together?
We started small. We started 3 of us here. And back then we realized that we need more people, more hands on board. And we brought first 2 guys that we already knew from Cold Water's modding scene. And afterwards, the team started growing quite rapidly. So we are now about 12 or 13 people, including Alexei, our composer from Atlantic Fleet days.
You've got an array of scenarios, a dynamic campaign, a mission editor, all packed into early access. Which of these features do you think players appreciate most from what you've seen so far?
Dynamic campaign is work in progress. It's not there yet. We are working on making it go as we want it. Right now, we have a calculus of conflict linear campaign that has a quite nice switch between sides which player plays along the missions as he progresses. So he can switch from the NATO side to the Warsaw Pact Navy side and later on again. But the switch was slightly confusing to some players.
What about difficulty? Cold War combat is notoriously unforgiving. How do you balance realism with fun so players don't feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, there's a certain point where the more realism you add, it starts detracting from the fun, and we don't like to pass that point.
Also, we added kind of some units which actually were not ever in service, so to say, like for the Soviet side. We have a carrier there just for the purpose of kind of better balancing, so to say. Because historically, the Soviets wouldn't have left the Barents Sea to move into the Atlantic because they knew they wouldn't stand a chance there, probably, conventionally, of course. So it was more a fun aspect to add a carrier for their side too.
We like building cool units, basically. If you want something in-game, why not build it? I very much like Red Dawn, the movie, which is quite implausible scenario of Russian forces together with other nations attacking mainland USA, and it's fun. It's a nice war flick. Is it realistic? Not really when you think about it, but it exists and it's fun. And that's the same approach that we do. We do it because otherwise we wouldn't have a game if we went by hindsight, because war didn't happen in the end.
Yeah, and fun is important. Speaking of fun, the mission editor looks fantastic. How powerful is it? And have you seen any community missions that have surprised you in any way?
Well, it's getting more and more powerful as we add features to it and also get closer to the original intended feature set. There's been some really impressive missions done by the community. There was a guy who made a really cool campaign called Pacific Strike. So we just went and hired him to be our scenario designer.
So you're balancing deep simulation with accessibility. What's one aspect you've deliberately kept approachable?
Well, the interface. That's why the game focuses on snazzy 3D graphics. If we were being serious war gamers, we would just have a map, no graphics at all. But this game is about basically playing with cool equipment that behaves realistically far as you can make it, and have fun blowing stuff up Michael Bay style.
That is a good description, actually. Yeah. Going back to the snazzy graphics, Sea Power's visual atmosphere, which I think is augmented by a range of non-visual elements as well, like the dynamic weather, sensor modeling, and the Cold War tension, all of it combined. It's just beautiful and really speaks to that sense of enjoyment as well as strategy. And I was wondering what you guys can tell us about the design processes responsible for Sea Power's atmospheric awesomeness.
It sort of happened as we took what we developed with Cold Waters, and that worked. And we decided to redo basically the whole environment from scratch, but keep the style that we had going on in our previous games, because that works and that has its own style. Also, we had the same composer because he was proven already with previous games that his work is great and suits us and fits our team very well. And as for environment, I would say the basis of the game, that is playing cat and mouse and keeping yourself hidden from enemy sensors while trying to pick up his own, is what creates that tension and that uneasy mood of the missions.
I was responsible for the environments on all the Killerfish games up to Cold Waters. And Atlantic Fleet was the one where he kind of did everything from the ground up. And I don't know if you've ever been up here in the UK. It's always grey, rainy and miserable most of the time. And as a result, I'm grey and miserable too. So I make miserable, moody environments.
I would say that we wanted Sea Power to be even more moody and depressing looking.
Quite frankly, we don't want our game to look like every other game, and just developing our own solutions to things helps with that.
So do you see the environment itself as a tactical element, for example, through the inclusion of visibility and terrain advantages, or does Sea Power's environmental design align more with the aim of enhancing that atmospheric immersion?
Well, it's both. So rain, for instance, affect radar performance. Clouds affect visibility. So certain weapons can't drop certain guided bombs if you're flying above a cloud layer, for instance, because they cannot lock the target. If you're in a submarine, then having bad weather at the surface makes it harder to distinguish sonar contacts against the background. So yeah, environment plays quite a large role.
Judging from the devlogs I've seen, your team's been pretty busy with terrain, lighting, shader improvements, adding snow caps. What's the long-term vision for world building in Sea Power?
We are working right now. Ian, our shader wizard, is working on new terrain layering system that would enhance the visual part of the terrain, and also on a new autogen system for generating trees, buildings, and such, or displaying them in 3D world as we move forward to move it from CPU to GPU usage, and thus increase performance, but also do other neat tricks with it. Apart from that, visually, we are going to, of course, introduce new assets, new units, new factions. We are going to release People's Liberation Army Navy units on October 1st. If everything goes well. And that's just another step in our ongoing expanding the roster of available units and nations in the game.
One of the upcoming Sea Power features is the scriptable AI with JavaScript support. That's a big step for modders. Is there anything in particular you hope the community will create with that system?
You will probably have lots of possibilities, and it's as our new AI will be scriptable, it's up to the people to actually change the behavior of units, and I think that's a big step forward into the right direction.
With the freedom the players would have with that scriptable AI, could they theoretically create completely new mission behaviors?
Technically, yes, because it's unit behavior, so to say. So, but that of course plays a role into how the missions end up, right? We are currently having some issues with the current AI, especially for carriers and so, the aircraft behavior. But we are working on that, and that will be a big step forward, I think.
And certain elements of that behavior and issue with carriers and airfields was already introduced in latest updates.
The recent adjustment to US Navy missile illuminators reduced firepower for some ships while boosting for others. Was that change motivated more by gameplay balance or for historical realism?
Well, it's for historical realism because, well, the US ships were too powerful. Because when I made the original stats for them, I assumed that American directors were two-channel like the Soviet ones, but they're not. So they have one director for each missile.
I love the attention to historical accuracy in your game as well. And I know you've spent some time recently correcting things like flag meshes, weather carryovers, translations. How much do you rely generally on the community to catch those details versus reliance on internal QA?
It's always a balance. Any balancing that's being made is made the game fun. We're completely apolitical. We prefer to just have stuff conform to their published stats. And also anecdotal evidence isn't really evidence. So if anyone wants to dispute our performance figures for equipment in game, they're free to do so. But then they better be prepared to show up with
empirical evidence?
Yeah, actual evidence like peer-reviewed studies and papers.
So with Sea-Power's gorgeous graphics, advanced sensors, weapon physics, and dynamic weather, it's no surprise that it's praised for realism. Do any of you have a favorite detail in the game?
Yeah, carry-ups. They're pretty cool.
And the scope of the game. The way we can start a mission in Gibraltar, go to Eurobond, and end up in Felixstowe, all in one go. Because initially, Sea Power was considered as a game that was played on a locked size maps that were, if I'm not mistaken, 500 on 1,000 miles across. But then we realized it's too small for the subject, for scope of systems that we are going to use there. So we went full scale.
I concur. I mean, I also like the sheer size of the game. It was also very challenging to implement all that, so that you can visit any spot on the Earth, no matter if over water or underwater. It's pretty huge. Of course, we have lots of auto-generated content like cities and so, because you cannot spend billions on recreating the Earth, basically. And it should also have a reasonable download size, of course. And we also wanted to keep it pure offline, so you don't need to stream any things from any servers or so. And so what I like about Sea Power most is a very unique look. I think you can clearly see that there is like a signature of how that entire game looks and feels. It's very unique. It looks realistic. It has not too realistic, I have to say, but we never wanted to achieve it to have it like 100% realistic looking. So I like it just to kind of visit random places. I mean, when I'm working a bit on terrain stuff, and so I usually do that to see how does it look there, like, or how does my own country look like where I come from, right? And of course, it has also some limitations due to the data, but it's in overall, it's very, from my point of view, pretty impressive. Yeah.
So we have civilian aircraft in the game. Well, we civilian ships too, because I like them. We have a lot of them. So I already spent a lot of time building harmless merchant ships. But we also made, just for fun, we made Air Force One, the plane of a president of the United States. And you can shoot this plane down in the game, and the president will escape in his escape pod. And then he will drift down to the ocean over land, and you can send out a submarine or a helicopter, pick him up. Or if you play as the enemy, you can kidnap the president of the United States. Now, what other war game lets you do something like that?
I mean, as much as I want to continue talking about kidnapping presidents, we have to talk about the music, because Alexi's score is just incredible. Did you all have a plan from the outset of how you wanted the soundtrack to feel in-game, and then you sat down and discussed it? Or is that like Alexi's realm only? What's that process like?
We decided early on, when we started working on this game, that we really want to do something that feels like Terminator score or any other blockbuster from early to mid 80s. That is moody, that is gritty, heavy, and with some bits of electronic music in it, because that sound that fits the theme, the time frame theme, and that everlasting threat of global war of the early 80s that we grew up in. And that was the starting point for Alexi to work with.
I want to jump back in time for a second. Did you all grow up playing MicroProse games? And if so, which ones have stuck with you over the years?
Red Storm Rising, Pirates, Airborne Ranger, F-15 Strike Eagle 2. Those were my favorites.
I played Pirates a lot. I totally love that game. Interestingly, also Football Manager and Formula Racing. Those were my favorites. And Red Storm Rising, of course, yeah. Silent Service 1 and 2. Totally loved that game, and it was quite an inspiration for me days back. And also XCOM, Enemy Unknown. That's another one I totally love.
F-19. It's not like I played only F-19, but it's the one. And maybe Gunship, of course. Still talking about C-64 days, so early 90s. It was mostly F-19, which I loved, and Gunship.
And now here you are being published by MicroProse. What does that feel like?
Good.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a natural choice, so to say, from both sides, I think. Because we always loved MicroProse games, and C-Power just fits into that old and new MicroProse brand, so to say.
Yeah, I guess we kind of channeled that old MicroProse style that was always a bit more game and action than like pure hardcore simulation. I mean, there were of course a lot of hardcore simulations already back then, but I guess there's a reason why people tend to remember the old MicroProse classics a lot more.
There's definitely a lot of love for all those old classics and new games that bring back the feeling of those classics. So it's kind of a natural partnership. Did you guys approach MicroProse with C-Power, or did they approach you?
David was looking to revive MicroProse, and I talked to David. We got on really well. I talked to the rest of the team to hear their opinions, what they thought, because at the time we were planning to self-publish completely. Everybody thought this was a really good idea, so we just went with it.
From my point of view, I'm very proud to be under that MicroProse umbrella, so to say. For me, it has kind of a feeling like a family. David is very nice, and all MicroProse guys I got to know, including Crazy Fraser, are very, very nice too. For me, I like to be part of that family, so to say.
And what can I say? I was 11 when I started playing MicroProse games on C64, and in my 40s, we signed a partnership to publish our game with MicroProse. So it's going full circle, but not the way I expected.
Mick is really happy because he gets to go to work every day in his 40s and still feel like he's 11. Is that right?
Yeah, but the downside guide is I don't have time to play games, or sometimes even playtest our own game. So luckily we have playtesters for that.
Yeah, well, C-Power is currently in early access. What do you most want players to take away from the early access experience?
Just seeing the game grow with each several months, with new updates and polishing and quality of life improvements, is that very satisfactory feeling. I hope our fans and players also get that out of playing C-Power as it is now.
Have an open mind, have a glass half full, not a glass half empty attitude, and just try to have fun.
Speaking of having fun, today's mystery segment is called Dev Team Diaries. No, we didn't don tactical gear and breach the boundaries of your houses to steal your personal journals, mainly because our producer didn't give us approval. So instead, we're going to ask a series of deeply personal, semi-serious questions for reasons.
So you have 30 seconds on the clock for each answer, and your time starts
now. Mech, if C-Power is adapted into a play, who, from your dev team, would you want to direct it? Who would design the set? And who would you cast as the Admiral?
Definitely Noah, our producer manager, will be the option number 1. I would be the option number 2. And I think Matt, the happy actor with his beautiful British voice would be perfect fit for option 3.
Nils, who on your dev team is most likely to rage quit during playtesting?
Me.
Yeah.
Martin, when you're not working on Sea Power, what games do you play to unwind?
I don't play that many games, to be honest. Personally, I totally enjoy Elite Dangerous, actually, at the moment.
Mech, if you could command one vessel from the Cold War arsenal in real life, what would it be?
It would be some diesel submarine, most likely a Kilo class.
Martin, if you had to choose, would you rather sink an enemy carrier or sneak past undetected with your entire force intact, not in Sea Power, in real life?
It depends. If I'm in the, if I have the chance to completely obliterate the enemy, which would probably give me some advantage in the long run, then that would probably be the best option. But sometimes it's better to not fight and to sneak past behind it. It depends on the objectives, of course, right?
Very true.
Nils, who on your team is most likely to sink their own ship by accident?
In Sea Power or in real life?
Either.
Definitely me. I vote Martin.
Is that Martin? Puts his hand up.
I suck playing our own game.
It's unanimous.
3 votes for Martin. I like it.
Why did your team choose the Cold War period, specifically that sweet spot between the 60s and 80s, as the setting for Sea Power?
So I think it's just the most interesting era. It created the most interesting units. Everything was kind of new after World War II and evolved in also some very strange and but also cool ship designs. Also from a fun perspective or a game perspective, it made most sense because both Soviets and NATO were kind of equally balanced, so to say, mainly because the fun aspect and the kind of weird ship designs sometimes.
Mech, if you had to sum up Sea Power's aesthetic style in 1 word or more, how many words would you choose? And what would those words be?
4 words. It's a diorama brought to life. The way we do our models and the style that we have is like those model dioramas that you see on displays and that someone puts endless number of hours into making, and we sort of styled our units and look of the game after that.
Nils, what's the funniest or most catastrophic mistake that yourself or someone from your team has made during playtesting?
I don't make mistakes during playtesting. I make mistakes everywhere else.
Good answer.
Sea Power players can fight in a variety of locations, including the North Atlantic, the Persian Gulf, and the Mediterranean. Nils, in your opinion, which of these is the perfect naval battle holiday destination?
Persian Gulf.
Martin, walk us through the most memorable mission run you've pulled off in your game. This could be a 0 damage, textbook perfect play, or something unexpectedly catastrophic, whatever stands out most in your mind.
Yeah, usually I have more catastrophic outcomes, so it's also, but that's more like my play style. I love stealth-like games, but I'm usually not cautious enough, so to say, right? So I rush into it, and then I immediately see what I did wrong.
Sounds like me in real life.
Yeah.
And that's all we have time for, folks.
Mech, Nils, Martin, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best with your game.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Mech, Martin, and Nils from Triassic Games talking about Sea Power, naval combat in the missile age, which you can find on Steam.
Massive thanks to Mech, Martin, and Nils for chatting about their development journey and for joining us on today's reconnaissance mystery segment, Dev Team Diaries. And now it's time for
Gaming News.
We're excited to share that a board game adaptation of B-17 Flying Fortress, The Bloody 100, is on the way. This cooperative game invites you and your friends to step into the boots of a World War II bomber crew. Every mission will test your tactical mettle as you coordinate roles, balance resources, lead squadrons, and strategize. Will you triumph in war or fall in flames?
Probably fall in flames, to be honest.
Have you seen the Kickstarter pre-launch page for the board game yet?
No, have you?
Yeah, it looks great. I'll show it to you later. Actually, I'll add it to the show notes. For anyone listening, it's still in pre-launch mode, but you can go to the B-17 Flying Fortress, the bloody 100th Kickstarter page, to be notified when the campaign launches, so you don't risk missing out on getting the best tiers.
What's in the tiers?
That information is classified. You'll have to wait and see.
Do you know what I don't have to wait and see? Dagger Directive's latest update, the 90s, which Dan Fowler spoke about back in episode 1. The 90s introduces era-specific weapons, new uniforms, mission pacing improvements, ship updates, and AI enhancements. Very cool stuff. So definitely check it out if you're a fan of Dagger Directive.
I saw some screenshots and gameplay footage of the new weapons and mission updates on the Dagger Directive Steam page. The uniforms look cool.
Do you know what else has been updated?
EXFIL?
EXFIL's latest update includes FOV settings, accessibility options for color vision deficiency, and a range of tweaks.
Also, there is an EXFIL weekly community challenge every Friday or Saturday, depending on your time zone.
While we're on the topic of updates, Neyyah fans might be interested to know that a few new Easter eggs have mysteriously appeared in the game.
Some of these Easter eggs are personally meaningful to the developer, while others delve into the inner workings of Neyyah. Also, there is a digital art book which...
We interrupt this broadcast with an important news update. Hostilities have broken out in Central Europe, and the US Navy is battling Soviet submarines to reinforce NATO defenders. Meanwhile, the conflict between Iran and Iraq escalates into a larger confrontation as both sides indiscriminately attack merchant ships. In the Norwegian Sea, an outnumbered Soviet surface force has challenged the US Navy, whose amphibious forces are bound for occupied Norway.
Wait a minute, is this real?
It's real. If by real you mean really fun. Sea Power, Naval Combat in the Missile Age is in early access on Steam.
The MicroProse podcast will return next month with more exclusive interviews, gaming news, and as always, a brand new mystery segment. In the meantime, check out our show notes, wishlist some games, and binge watch the MicroProse YouTube channel for more information on everything we've covered here today.
And endgame.